Hey, what's up everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. We have the Ace of Swords at the bottom of the deck. This is where I stopped shuffling last. And I just posted a message, more than likely it'll be just before this posting, about hidden enemies and energetic interference from my personal experience, and also just some best bets on how you secure the win. It was pretty cringy at some points to give a full disclaimer, but I'm saying that because I shuffled the cards way before I posted that, and this being where I stopped is a perfect correlation between the synergy of that message. It's drenched in what I connect to as divine clarity and truth. So I encourage you to check it out. I don't know if this message is going to connect to that, but I'm open to however the spirit wants to speak on today. Happy Saturday, by the way, and I hope you're doing well. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, shoot. Back to this Ace of Swords. Let me just give it a quick little 1, 2. What's that? All right. Well, we got 5 coming out the deck. Okay. The Empress shows her lovely face yet again. I usually don't take so many cards at once, but why not? Rather than sit here and shuffle my life away. All right, let's see. We got the Empress. We have the Two of Swords. I'm sorry, the Lovers, not the Two of anything, but the Lovers. The 10 of Swords, the 9 of Cups, and the Queen of Wands. Wow. And then we got the High Priestess peeking out here under the deck, and then the Page of Wands, which is new beginnings. So this card is definitely giving me the energy of betrayal, the end of a cycle of betrayal or deception, hidden enemies as well, betrayal on account of hidden enemies. And we have the Empress who, undoubtedly, given her prominent position here at the top of this spread, is so because of her choice to choose her highest self and to be in alignment with the vibration of her divine spirit. All the while being stabbed in the back many, 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 many times by multiple people, by people that were greedy and that were in competition ultimately, because I love the Queen of Wands. I even identify with her, but over here on this side of the game is giving me dark energy, dark interference, which the Queen of Wands in the reverse is absolutely that. But just, I'll say an over ambition, an excessive ambition for power and for carnal satisfaction, which sometimes this 9 of Cups can be, like just drinking too much, partying too much, maybe drugging too much, just overindulging in the satisfactions of life that are sensationally satisfying, but not necessarily spiritually satisfying. And she's looking off into the distance and into some unknown, reality, I'm getting the sense trying to find herself, really trying to find her own identity and probably searching for it in all the wrong places. And he trying to find his satisfaction, but being filled with all the wrong things that, ultimately don't truly satisfy. So in their obsession to deceive and disrupt the comfort of the Empress, definitely check out my last message. And even the connections and collaborations that the Empress is ordained to have, it's ultimately not been as much of a betrayal to the Empress, whom you see is still sitting in her rightful position and still connected to her destiny. It's ultimately been more of a betrayal to the influencers and the offenders, I should say, in this case, than it was to the initial object of the opposition, if that makes sense. And yeah, this is giving me the Queen of Wands, this collaborative energy right here, is because that's what I get. You know, it could definitely be one person sitting in these vibrations, but from my, you know, energetic experience, it's been much more of a collaborative effort of hidden enemies and opposition, whether it be on a personal level, you know, friends, family, foes, frenemies, even co-workers, and on in a general sense with culture and community and, you know, what else? Culture, community, and society as a whole, like ways of interfering with the independence and prosperity of divine beings for some personal, you know, objective or advancement. That this demotion here signifies that where there once was power in their own right and authority and even satisfaction, it's been, you know, diminished down to a page level, which is like a child in the essence of the Queen and even this adult energy here. Page energies are like children. So it's been demoted down to square one and really having to like start fresh in new terrain, and probably recognizing something about the truth of their power and their influence and impact that may or may not be hard to, you know, to even face, you know, a hard pill to swallow, you know, because someone that comes from a queen position or comes from this position of being overly stimulated and satisfied, to come down to like square one is excruciating in a sense, but that's the justice of such energetic investments. Watch my last message. So the High Priestess is absolutely the energy that has been guided in spirit and in truth to protect her energetic force, to clear her energetic force from these advancements and oppositions, even when she didn't necessarily have the receipts for it. You know, there have been times when it was just an influx or an impulse in the spirit, a still small voice whispering to say, don't do this, don't do that, don't be with these people, don't go to this place, don't attend that party, clear this energy out of your house, you know, don't connect to this business opportunity, don't continue on in this job. You know, there have been so many cues that have been given to those that are intentional about being in divine alignment. A lot of the intel that's come in has been very intuitive, very from an emotional standpoint, just vibrations that cause some level of discomfort or dis-ease that cue you to a directive that sometimes doesn't even really make sense in a physical material way. You know, that, like I said, you don't even have evidence as to why you feel detached or resistant to certain people, places, and spaces, but yet in faith, you follow that impulse because you trust yourself ultimately in that voice that speaks through you more than you place trust and security in the environments that you're in and with the people and places and with the things that you're connected to. So this is the vibe, you know, because that's the practice run, the experience that we've had of kind of walking in the dark, not really having full evidence and awareness of why we were walking the way that we were, but just trusting that force that was leading and guiding us. For some of us, angels, ancestors, way showers, guides, signs and synchronicities in our waking lives. Again, emotional intuition, trusting that energy to lead you to safe spaces and ultimately to your divine destiny is what's going to maintain your protection along that path. Like I said, that was like the practice run, and a lot of people didn't make it through that time frame. A lot of people fell, either betraying themselves, unfortunately, not trusting their energy and wanting to be within that space of social acceptance and societal acceptance, afraid to go against the grain, afraid to look crazy, afraid to look paranoid and, you know, pretentious and all these other things, afraid to be on the fray of society, let alone family and friends. And they ultimately either were betrayed and deceived, or betrayed themselves, which ultimately is one and the same. You could only be betrayed if you allowed yourself to fall victim to that space. And some overindulged in the power that they were given and the prominent positions of perspective that they were given to maybe do a little more with the resources that were granted to them than was divinely ordained and that was justifiably reasonable. And because of that, the disparity between those energies, there are upgrades happening in spirit and in truth, and there are downgrades and demotions happening in spirit and in truth. Those that have followed and walked by faith are receiving the harvest of the seeds that they've sown in the physical, mental, spiritual, and of course material way. And the same is so for those that have sown in an adverse energy. Those chickens are coming home to roost, per se, and you're having to meet the fate of your actions, you know, of the path that you chose. So yep, that was the wheel of fortune, which is karma, and that's ultimately what it came down to. We were all learning life lessons. Heartbreak. We were all learning lessons on how to be in this world and being prepared and prepped for an evolution of sorts. And that evolvement is happening one way or another. You're either on that upside of the wheel or you're on the lower end and having to find your way back up to solid ground again, which is no easy feat now, because the stakes are much higher and the consequences are much harder, you know, in the time that we're in now. There was a lot more grace for repentance back then. King of Wands at the deck, who knows how to wield his energy, but that definitely is a close into this counterpart here. Someone that thought they were in high power and authority, kind of pulling the strings even perhaps on this energetic, or at least they thought they were pulling the strings on the energetic force as the King of Wands, the counterpart to this dark energy here. But ultimately, he's even been knocked down back to, and she never really saw him as much anyway. Unfortunately, she, just as much as he was playing her, she was playing him. And although he thought he may have had the upper hand, she ultimately held the power, as you see who sustains here as the energy still in position, in high position. Ultimately, it all comes back down to one, no matter what. And the investments that were made and even the turnarounds that are portrayed are just a little bit too late. You know, there's been some level of repentance for some of those hidden enemies that have worked collaboratively. Now that they're seeing, you know, that the grass ain't greener on the other side, and also that what they invested, what they sowed, did not produce what was intended. You know, there was definitely a high expectation of return, and for some it's come very late, and if at all, at this point, or their revelation of their own reality has come at such a late time that the offer that they would like to make to turn around and almost atone for their investments is, you know, really not much accepted. Sorry to say. Yeah, like they're stuck waiting for the enlightenment on how to move forward. The Knight of Pentacles is like the slowest moving energy in the deck. And there, you know, like I said, there's been some new desire for enlightenment and to, you know, turn away from the energies that have already been invested. But when you've already put that out there, it has to land somewhere, and it's very evident that it's not landing at the objectified target. So that energy has to return. This deceptive energy has to go somewhere as this new cycle of life begin. This is the old ending and a new beginning. Let's see. I'm trying not to make this too long. I say that and then I end up with the hour message. Yeah, this is community, the haves and have-nots. And the King of Wands came out again. And you know what? I'm going to squeeze you in up here, King, because I think this is where you want to be anyway. You want to be at the top. You got it, buddy. You are at the top of the pyramid. It's not really a pyramid, but you get what I'm saying. So the King of Wands came out again, and he's facing, I hear, his mortality, or maybe just demotion or demise. I don't know. But what is true for sure is that he's facing head to head with this energy, more or less, that he made the decision to align with. And when I'm saying he or she, it could very much be specific to he's and she's, like partners in your life, which is very much indicated here, having these two separated energies on this end of the spectrum and this divine union and connection on this end of the spectrum, and this being on the other side of the betrayal. So it is very specific, you know, to what could be experienced, but it could also just be bringing light to the intentions of collaboration, and that once upon a time, if not now, definitely before, there were energies in accordance, working in accordance and in alignment for the sake of, you know, diabolical plots and plans. You know, energetic interference here is what this is. Energetic manipulation, deception, theft, you know, and overindulgence in energies that are outside of what is naturally and organically possessed by them. A lot of that was going on and is going on and is being brought to a close. Case in point, that Ashley Grayson, and I think her husband's name is Josh. I don't know if his last name is Grayson too, but the Ashley and Josh story of the couple that was trying to off, you know, their opposers just because they were speaking the truth, like her ex, and then like a YouTuber or a TikToker that was exposing them, and then some prominent influencer that the one particular girl felt was her competition or her rival, and they joined together to try to, you know, hatch this plan and plot to kill these three people in quite brutal and vicious ways, you know, very venomously, no regard to their families and their own lives and connections that they had built, just for the sake of their own self-preservation of power, their preservation of power ultimately, and to maintain this ideal of position and authority and prestige that they were selling to the public, which ultimately itself ended up being exposed as a fraud, you know. But they wanted to preserve that position of influence so bad that they were willing to take a life to do it. And that's the extreme of this vibration here that's playing out. Watch my last message. It's connected, but in a different form. But that's the extreme of this vibration here, where, you know, people were willing to do anything for clout and for coin, which is definitely something that I've connected to before in the readings. But here is the Justice card, because it's time up for that. Everything, the universe justifies all, and it brings everything back into balance. And universally, we are that force. So like I said, whatever it is that you sowed is what you're going to reap, you know? It's not that God is just sitting somewhere in the clouds looking down and taking notes on everybody who's been doing everything and, you know, yep, I'm gonna get you for that, or yep, I'm gonna bless you for that. it's just on account of what you've invested into this energetic field. So if you've been investing deception and destruction and demise and greed and, you know, dark magic in the most extreme cases, and even just expelling negative energy in a person's direction, lies, deceit, smear campaigns, narcissistic abuse and activity, you know, trying to promote illusions and delusions, defrauding the collective and the masses in some way, and even in the most simple ways by just perpetrating a lie, you know, a lie of a lifestyle, and in the most extreme ways by actually extracting some income or some return for that perpetration. The universe must balance that energy for those that were not aware they were being deceived, for those that very intentionally invested in the highest vibration they possibly could, and for those that did the very opposite, that tried to take advantage and manipulate every energy they encountered for their own personal benefit and advancement. Everything must come into balance now. It took us a long time for it to come around. The universe wasn't evolving as quickly as it is now, but energy is evolving now at rapid paces, so much so that as soon as you send some vibrations out, you can almost immediately expect it to return. Same in the highest vibration and frequency too, but most certainly in the lowest vibration. So if you're still operating in low form and your carnal essence exclusively and only looking to satisfy yourself and sustain some illusionary position of power that ultimately has been projected by society, you know, you've been betrayed by society to buy into it, you're going to have to, you might as well just prepare yourself for that return, you know, because just as soon as you send it out, it's coming back. Just as soon as you think of the intention to do harm is as soon as you'll find yourself in harm's way, you know. In the same vein for the upside of that energy, though, I'd like to stress: stay positive, keep your intentions pure, keep sowing good seeds into good ground. You know, that's too many. That was the Ace of Cups, though. Keep sowing good seeds into good ground, looking to be productive and prosperous in all that you do, staying grounded in grace, maintaining your peace above all circumstances, forgiving and trying to forget if possible. You know, I pray every day that my memories are purified. It's still too many, I think, but, or maybe it isn't. Maybe I should take it. I'm gonna take it. And here's the High Priestess again and the Queen of Swords. Might as well take it so we can get through fast, right? Then maybe that'll help me not be an hour. So we got, yeah, this is about crossing over into peaceful, more calmer waters. This is all good stuff, though, honestly. Glad I did take it. This is about creating generational wealth with your high vibrational intentions, you know, starting a new legacy of life, the world regenerating itself in some prosperous way, and the inhabitants thereof. This is about that evolution I'm speaking of, you know, where the way of the world that used to be justified by societal standards is now kind of coming to a close, and in many ways it has played itself out of position and kind of expired itself because it just doesn't produce fruit anymore. People are too evolved to know that they have faithful, they embody the faith to have new experiences and to have fresh new beginnings. Like as the universe is evolving, so like I said, so are the inhabitants, and they're being gifted this newfound independence and self-awareness from a divine perspective that can't be manipulated from an earthly point of view. You know, though the world as it was may try to incite those old methods of, you know, inciting codependency and resisting organic creativity and kind of just herding the masses in the way that works best for the system of society, you know, to fuel off of that imbalance of power. too many people are kind of waking up to the truth of that existence, what it yields and what it doesn't. And they're making a decision to choose the new world order where there's enough for everyone, and you can win more by working less, meaning not necessarily that you don't do anything, but that you don't overexert yourself and your energy on things that have been projected to you as prominent or prosperous, that you actually take the time to connect with your divine intel, to connect with the things that truly make you feel empowered in your life and not enslaved. And even if there's a bit of a disturbance in the comfort of your life, you're willing to go on that fool's journey where you may not have all the answers, you may not know all you need to know, or even have all you need to have resource-wise, but you're so faithful that there has to be more in store for you beyond what you're experiencing, that you ultimately get what's more in store for you beyond what you're experiencing. It's your faith that makes you whole, ultimately, not your greed. You know, I'm trying to find the opposite word for faith that starts with the S, but I can't really find one. Your falsehood. That's good here, where you're perpetrating a front, you know, perpetrating a lie just because it either affords you some fast return or monetary elevation, material elevation or expansion, even at the expense of your very own spirit. No, people are choosing to live in their truth, to, you know, be in divine alignment, no matter what the cost or the implication. Yeah, because some are, you know, living from this energy, you know, they're living in despair and anxiety, you know, and this is first saying that you have transcended this space of anxiety and resistance to your life and truth, and, you know, sleepless nights, and, you know, just wondering, you feeling depleted and isolated and dejected and rejected. You've transcended the projection of that energy, you know, from an intimate perspective and a personal and general perspective, to be in alignment with the self of you that may look a little funny in the public view, that may be ostracized, that may be scrutinized, that may be gossiped about, maybe even lied on, because sometimes the high priestess can look like a dark priestess to those that don't understand her methods or her motives. You know, I can speak for that personally, where people have made assumptions and even concocted stories about my energetic intentions and influence as if they were of a dark nature, when there's never been anything dark about me that anyone can truthfully attest to. You know, everything that I try to do, I try to do in the highest vibration, in the highest light of love and grace and truth, for all, no matter what the circumstances, even in positions as such where I know I've been betrayed, I know I've been ridiculed, I know that I've been stabbed in the back by people that I love the most. I still have looked to maintain this position of honor and integrity no matter what, you know. But even that energy is almost like an assault to this energy here, when you can't even be pierced by the deception and by the destruction. And why? Because that energy can't rest in a space that's vibrating at this level. It doesn't have a place to attach to, really. If you're still sitting in unforgiveness and regret and remorse and guilt and shame about who you are, like if I had allowed the outside to talk to me about who I was on the inside, then that energy would have had a place to call home, because I would have believed the lies that were being energetically projected to me. I would have believed the rumors that I didn't necessarily even hear, but I could feel the energy of, based on how people were reacting and responding and connecting or not connecting with me. You know, I would have been impressed by that influence and that interference in such a way that it would have knocked me off of my square of truth and kept me from this experience here of knowing that I'm on the right path and crossing over from what was a very turbulent time mentally and spiritually and even materially to a place of prosperity and a new way of living life that is, you know, holistically healing and fulfilling. And although the journey is fresh and new to me, and I don't know all the ways and twists and turns that it's going to take me, the Spirit I already am sure of has gifted me with everything that I need. I already embody it in order for this to be a successful journey. That's the prominence. That's true clout, and that's true coin. That's real coin. You know, the Ace of Pentacles is divine coin. Nothing beats that. You know, it looks like one, but it's mighty because it can be planted over. It's an infinite seed. It can be planted over and over again and multiplied in such a way that you could live off of it for the rest of your life. And that's the inspiration of the coin, that business idea, you know, that is so invaluable that it brings life to your life and to others, which means it's a necessity and not just, you know, it becomes a necessity of life and not just a novelty, you know, something that people actually need. Yeah, bringing balance to community, leveling, balancing the energy of prosperity and poverty in the land in such a way that everybody can more or less be on an even playing field. Yeah, I see this Eight of Pentacles here and peeking out from the back. Work, providing you with a position of productivity that proves to be valuable, and also it gives you a position of productivity that you would almost do for free, instead of in an energy where you don't even want to do the things that you find yourself doing, but you get stuck in the cycle because of your attachment to the prosperity, or, you know, to being rich itself. I can't even call it wealth because it's just an attachment to being rich, which we know is fleeting. You could be rich today and going to and broke tomorrow. But in this balanced energetic field stemming from this divine seed, it can expand and multiply exponentially, so that when you're celebrating, it's long-term celebration. You know, it's not, you know, it's not overindulgence, especially on other people's energy. You're celebrating the magnificence of your own elevation here in a pure sense, because you've done the work spiritually and energetically to maintain this position of power and impact on society as a whole, and in your own life. You know, I'm always talking about in society because I feel like that's one of those things that's one of the factors that can indicate that you're doing something in purpose and on purpose. Your purpose, of course, it's specific to whomever, you know, is receiving the message, and nobody's purpose is like the other. But you know that you're in alignment when what you do, you're not only doing for you, but that you see a value for those that could be impacted by it, you know, past, present, and future. You know, you see the impact that it makes, you know, in reverence and in honor of your ancestors who have ultimately paved the way for you to be in the present position you're in. You see the impact that it makes on your prosperity, on your peace, on your passion, on your power, on your productivity, you know, on your protection, even with that integrity piece. You see the promise of the future, of how this could lead to generational wealth, longevity and healing, and new ideals about money and wealth mentality, and leaving a space of poverty behind, a mentality of poverty behind for true wealth and prosperity, something that's going to, when you have the mindset of wealth and the spirit of wealth, you can always make something out of nothing. You can transmute any energetic force into something that is fortifying, because your perspective is always that the glass is more full than it is empty. This is a glass empty type of, no matter how many cups he has, it doesn't satisfy, because you're always looking to see what someone else has that you don't, or how you would be better off, you know, with that thing, or what you would do with it that would be more prosperous or more productive than the other, instead of just tending to the cup that you've been given, whether it's one or even none, you know, but praying in for the resource and the opportunity to create something out of nothing, but in integrity, so that it will last a lifetime and maybe even lifetimes beyond you. Oh yeah, here, see, that's the one, that one cup. And not only do you govern it highly and in integrity within itself, but you don't allow that cup to be mixed or mingled with anything else that is out of that alignment, because it runs the risk of it being tainted. And then even with the best intentions of that cup, you know, to really serve the community, or, you know, even just the best intentions of elevating yourself, even in a self-serving way, but not necessarily in obstruction to anybody else's path or progress. Sometimes you could, you know, in this instance, either one of these individuals could have started with the highest intentions of just collaborating for creativity, and then all of a sudden you see yourself mixed in with some energy, and before you know it, your cup is tainted because of you mixing it with the intentions of this cup. And not only do you find yourself in a compromising position, but now you're having to drink from that cup that you've poured for yourself, because as I've said, this energy belongs to you ultimately. No matter how much you try to pour it out, it will always find its way to stream back to you, you know? So even it's even more important that we maintain integrity in our connections and contracts, personally or professionally, intimately, or look, and the devil peeking out, intimately or otherwise, or platonically, because we all impact each other in some way, shape, or form. You know, we all do. Once upon a time, diabolical intentions made an impact even on this empress, you know, quiet as it's kept. It just wasn't a lasting impact because of the vibration that she perpetuated, you know, but it wasn't that it wasn't meant to, you know. So recognizing that we all are a very powerful force, it would be much more productive of us to look to impact society and make an impact in the best ways possible. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice yourself to do it, or your happiness. Quite the contrary. Usually when you're operating in the highest integrity is the way for you to satisfy yourself and others. You know, it's something that you need and something that others could benefit from as well. But here we have and I'm just going to take his ass out, and I think I'm going to end it here. But this is the road on this end of the spectrum, as it's been kind of determined and divined perfectly. This is where that energy has been laid to rest. And as I said before, it has come to its senses in a sense, or at least just been forced to turn around, because like I said, those impressions are no longer impressioning. That impact is not having the same sting and having the same influence that it once did, or even yielding the same results or rewards or satisfaction that it once did. It's a dead end. So now that energy is finding itself having to lay those intentions to rest, and to ultimately be in search of some new way of living life, some new beginning of sorts, with hopes that it's going to lead to a promising outcome, or at least to a safe outcome, you know, one that's a little less pretentious than it is here. But ultimately, I took the devil out because at first, you're going to have to meet those limitations that you created for others, first and foremost. You're going to have to get over that. A lot of people projected a lot of diabolical, not a lot, I won't say a lot of people, but those adverse energies that I spoke of, their intention was to project limitations, even distractions, disturbances, resistance, blockages, burdens, you know, even death itself, to energies that they targeted to be prime hosts of, you know, meaning that if you could diminish a person's spirit, then you can host off of that energy in one way, shape, or form. In the most primitive way, if you can diminish someone's character by talking about them or perpetuating some lies and untruths about their character, as I said about the high priestess, then you can feed off of that energy and almost position yourself as a higher authority to not only know what's what about her, you know, based on your experiences, but you can also position yourself as some higher elevated authority, some exalted authority that would ultimately, you know, like I said, selling a lifestyle, selling an image, but it's doing it at the detriment to someone else and not even in a justified way, because it would be different if the high priestess was actually dark and was actually doing demonic things. But in actuality, that diabolical energy was coming from the very source that it was being projected from, you know, meaning it was doing the things that it was projecting were being done by, you know, the object of obstruction, you know, and destruction. So what I'm saying to you is basically bringing it back all around to say that based on what you sow is what you shall reap. So I pray that there is hope beyond the horizon, that if you have, you know, at least had the strength and the will to turn away from those wicked ways, you know, ultimately, and those ways that are just not productive, at least, you know, at least. Not to say that they're all diabolical, but again, if they're self-serving, some satisfaction that is not spiritually sensational and fortifying. If you have come to the senses to know that this ain't it, you know, congratulations, and that's a beautiful thing. I support that 100%, because that's at least a first step on the path to righteousness, truly, to really, truly living in your most powerful energy, your most creative force, which is what adds value to the evolution of, you know, the collective consciousness, and because it adds true value to your life, it's sustainable. So there's definitely celebration for that turnaround, you know, just in the same breath, you know, based on these investments that were made. This is exactly what this card, I wasn't even looking at it, but this is about making wise investments, or the adverse, not being happy with the investments that you made. You're going to have to harvest that crop, you know, between you and the divine. And the encouragement is that you stay the course, you know, because once upon a time it was hard for energies of divine intentions to surmount the hurdles that were imposed upon them, or that that were voluntarily assumed, because it happened in both ways ultimately. So you're going to have to meet that energy, and the prayer is that you know, are willful enough to surmount it and overcome it, so that you can get to this space. Where is it? Where's this? This is the octave. Get to this space of the divine identity in such a way, in such a frequency and vibration, that is attracting not the adverse energy of prosperity, but the identical energy of it into it. You know, there's hope. There is hope, as long as, you know, the spirit says so. I can't say for sure, but what I can say is that the road to continue on this path ultimately undoubtedly leads to a dead end, to your demise and your destruction. There's always hope if you're willing to turn around and see the forest for the trees, so to speak. There's hope for that. And to release the attachment to your previous investments, your choices, your you know, no more attached to it than it just being a lesson learned, and a bridge to burn, ultimately, never to go back, but to keep moving forward in the way of peace and pure passion from this point on, you know, and let the spirit decide your fate from that point. Oh, look at that. And there you go, the Sun card. there's hope for all. You know, I truly believe so. There's hope for all. The Sun card came up in the last reading, so I'm not going to go in, but it's the most prosperous, most productive, and the happiest card in the deck. There's no energy, even the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Pentacles, which is about the quantity of life experience. You know, having 10 is the most you can have of all the suits. But this is about the quality of life. This is us being intentional about living in high value within our own being and creating quality with every creative force in our body, you know, to bring heaven into earth ultimately for a quality experience of living that supersedes quantity by far. You know, even with the Ace of Pentacles here, if you had nothing at all, ain't jingling in your pockets or folded in your wallet, if you can connect to a spirit of happiness, a spirit of pure passion, a spirit of integral prosperity, a spirit of divine power, a spirit of, you know, ethereal and earthly protection and security, you know, truly, then you have reached nirvana. And that nirvana is not feeding the novelties of life. It's, well, I'm sorry, I retract that. That energy of nirvana does, as this is a prosperity card, feed the novelties of life just as much as it feeds the necessities of such. You can have both. You can be rich and righteous, just on the matter of you choosing to walk that path no matter what. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there. Hope you're having a wonderful day again. Until next time, I'll leave you in peace.